Oh, today's topic is happiness, all through the holidays. So a lot of my clients this time of year come to me and say, how do I deal with this family member, or how do I deal with this friend who's just really being critical of what I'm doing and what my goals are? How do I get through it? Or maybe, you know how it is. Have you ever had a family member or loved one be critical of something that you're doing, maybe for your health, or maybe it's a fitness goal, or, whatever it is that you're working on in your life? That's what we're going to talk about. So let's see. Yeah, the mosquitoes. Yeah, don't love the mosquito part of things. All right, so wanted to be sure I was welcoming everybody as they got on. Green swamp, that's pretty funny. All right, so a few logistical things. So Nikki is in the comments, and she is categorizing your questions for me so that I don't get lost in the comments, because I tend to get a little bit distracted and then I don't answer as many questions as I'd like to. So Nikki, thank you for doing that for us. So if you have a question, just go ahead and put it in the comments anytime throughout this video, and Nikki will put that into a document, and at the end, I'll stop and do some Q&A things, stuff like that. I am getting over a head cold. I'm really happy. Actually, yesterday I sounded like an old smoker. My mom and I were joking about that. So I'm a little bit better today, but not quite back to normal. It is that time of year, isn't it? To get the colds and to get the sickness. All right, so let's kind of jump in here. So I am Tara. A lot of you know me as Health Coach Tara. I run Tara's Keto Kitchen, which is an online YouTube community where I post my favorite recipes, and I do trainings like this about the ketogenic diet. But today's training is really unique because it's not just about the keto diet. This is something that I think everybody struggles with over the holidays. For us on keto, and for those of you, so many of you stayed keto over Thanksgiving, which is amazing, but a lot of you, especially members, have come to me and said, hey, I'm just struggling with this family member or with this person. So, we talked a little bit about this a minute ago. So, have you ever, so kind of put yourself in this spot where you've had a family member or a loved one be critical of your keto diet or any diet you're on. Maybe you said no to an extra piece of pie. And you've listened to their feedback, and you realize that they're probably coming from a loving place. Maybe not, but you know that you're doing something really incredible for your health, and that's important to you. But somehow that comment, that thing that they said to you, it got in your head, and you kind of heard it over and over again, and you were focusing on it and thinking about it just a little bit too much. And maybe in the end, it caused you to stumble, or maybe backtrack, or maybe even quit. Or you might have gotten stubborn and confrontational. I'm kind of the opposite of confrontational, but my little baby sister is very confrontational. And maybe you said something back to them, and maybe it ended up damaging that relationship. I mean, about anything in life. So this may not even be dietary related, right? And you let it get inside your head, and it spirals around and around, and you just kind of lose that belief in yourself. You kind of start to doubt the direction you're heading in, and that can cause a setback, right? So first of all, let me tell you, this is not your fault. This happens to all of us, including me, and these experiences in life, they never really go away. So what do we do about it? How do you, Karen, great question. How do you get those negative thoughts out of your head to stop you even starting keto and exercise? Okay, perfect. That's the perfect question, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So what do we do about this? And I'm not going to tell you, don't worry, be happy. We've all heard that, right? Don't worry, be happy. That is an old world mentality. Studies have totally disproven that mentality, and they actually show that people who do this, they don't really do very well in life because they don't worry about tomorrow, which means they don't make any plans, and they don't start doing the things that they need to do and taking action on those things. So they never have a happy life because their mentality is just, don't worry, I'm just going to get by, right? So let's get rid of that theory right away. The whole don't worry, be happy, just force it. That doesn't work. So, okay, we're going to do something really fun and interactive. So I had in the comments, if you bring a pen and paper, you get bonus points. So who brought a pen and paper? If you did, make sure that that is right in front of you. Otherwise, you guys can also do this right in the comment box. And I'm going to warn you right now, we're going to do this 2-minute, just quick 2-minute thing. And we're actually going to recreate this experiment. And it's really fun. So in the comment box, you can type this out. If you do that, hit like Control A, Control C. That's Control All and then copy. So you make sure that you can copy the words that you come up with because you're going to need to refer back to those for part 2. If you have a pen and paper, you can do it that way too. All right. So now, I'm gonna explain it a little bit, but I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is until we go because I don't want you thinking about it before we start. So don't hit enter on the comment box until the end of the 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to time you, and it's going to be really awkward because I'm just going to be sitting here while you guys jot down words, and I'm going to say stop. So anybody coming into this live stream is going to be really confused. So Nikki, if you could just kind of like explain it in the comment section while we're doing this, that would be awesome, or maybe I could type it up. All right, so is everybody ready, either with a pen and paper, or you have the comment box open and ready to start? So type yes or ready if you're ready. And while I'm waiting for your response, because I'm a little delayed, this is actually the type of deep work we're doing in my membership program. So stick with me through this video and participate and ask questions, and I will tell you how to learn more about and how to join my membership program at the end. It's a really powerful program designed to change your habits, your brain, and your life. All right, I'm seeing yeses come in. All right, here's your instructions. You have 2 minutes to jot down as many words that can express emotion. So any emotion at all, all right? So I'm going to get my timer up. Don't start yet. See, this is what I should have been doing before. All right, where's my clock? You guys, I had to factory reset my phone, so I'm always like, where's all my things? All right, timer, 2 minutes. All right, go. All right, 1 minute left, so keep on writing any words. It's okay if you get stuck. Any words that express emotion. Twenty seconds. 10. All right, stop. Okay, so now make sure that before you hit enter, you copy what you just did and then hit enter, because then we're going to go back through this. We don't have so many comments going on that you won't be able to find it. So go ahead and push enter if you did it. In the comment box, if you wrote it down on paper, you can type those in the comment box, because I would love to use a real example of someone's words as we go through this. So please send those over. All right, so this is actually a study, and I will link just a little bit of information about this study. I thought it was really fun in the description after we finish up. I forgot to do that before. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back through these words, and I want you to rank them as, is it a negative word, a neutral word, or a positive word? So go ahead and go back through and which ones are negative, neutral, and positive. Hi, Jeremy. All right, so let's just go ahead and go through an example here. All right. So we'll use one of my members, Tamara's words. She's got happy. So happy is, I'm gonna type these so I can keep track of these. All right, so happy, it's a positive word, right? Sad, negative, angry, negative, frustrated, negative, elated, negative. Oh, sorry, elated would be happy, right? That'd be positive. Frustrated. Oops, I lost my pissed. That's negative. Confused. So confused. What do you guys think? Negative, neutral, which one? Type in the comment. Which one should I do for confused? Negative or neutral? And I know I've got a delay here, so sorry that I babble a little bit. Neutral. Okay. Thank you, Tamara. Irate. That's definitely negative. Ecstatic. I'm going to show that one positive. But we've got consensus on the neutral. Thank you. Overwhelmed. I'm going to say negative. Joyous, positive, and furious, negative. All right. So if I count those, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 positive words. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative. And then we have, I think we just had 1 neutral. Yep, 1 neutral. So we had 4 positive, 7 negative, and 1 neutral. And the findings on the study was that the average, half the words were negative. So 50% were negative, 20% neutral, and 30% positive. So, and that would be like an average over the whole study, right? So here we have predominantly negative words, right? So we had 7 negative words, 4 positive, and 1 neutral. And the whole point of this and why I wanted to do this is because I wanted to illustrate how the words in the front of our mind are negative. Like so many of the words that are there are just negative, and that is normal. That's biological. So let's talk a little bit about that. This focus on the negative is actually something ancient and inherent to our brain. So our brain is predisposed to be this way. We grab onto the negatives of our world. This is why the news headlines are so dramatic. I mean, have you seen like clickbait, right? So clickbait are headlines that evoke such a strong emotional response that we cannot help but click it. You know, and I will see a clickbait headline. I mean, have you ever seen a clickbait headline and like you're trying, like you're like, I know that's clickbait, but I have to click on it, right? But this focus on the negative, it's actually a survival mechanism. So take yourself back 1,000 years, right? Maybe longer than that. Back when humans as a race, we had to hunt and we had to gather. We had to protect ourselves from the real predators in our environment. And so we had to be like cued in fiercely, like what's coming at me? Like, I mean, so think about it. So it's winter, right? We're talking about winter. So those of us that it's cold, like it got really cold this week, like we would have to pay attention to that negative dropping temperature, right? And we need to do something about it. So I'm talking about hunters, gatherers, foragers, right? All right. So picture yourself mentally in that day and age, like caveman style, like you're dirty, right? Because you don't have access to water or clean anything. And you're out foraging for roots or berries. And you're just like, you're going about your day and you're doing all your things. And then all of a sudden you hear a noise, just snap. You look up and not 10 feet away from you is a lion, a beautiful, majestic lion full of power, just hunkered down, just like waiting to spring, right? But what are you thinking? Are you thinking about how beautiful the lion is? No, you're thinking, how do I live right now? Like, how do I not get eaten, right? So this negative and this whole thing with pulling negativity to the front of our mind, it's part of our survival instinct. And that is so important to understand, that our brain is focusing on this negative stuff, not because it wants us to be unhappy, but because it's a safety mechanism, right? So the good news is that with practice and consistency, we can change how our brain works. So that's really good. So a couple things that I want to talk about before I really get into the tactical strategies is, one of the things is our brain reacts to our thoughts. No matter if we vocalize them or we really pondered on them, it reacts to our thoughts automatically. So have you ever had to get up in front of people and speak? Like maybe you had to give a presentation at work, or maybe you were in college. I remember when I was in college, like I was just terrified of speaking in front of people. And so just picture yourself in that moment. And as you walked towards the front of the room, you were really nervous and you could feel your face just getting red and hot, right? And your hands are shaking and you kind of felt like you knew you weren't breathing right. And so you started to feel yourself get dizzy and you started to sweat in really weird places. So that is an automatic, physical, real response to something scary, right? We would say scary is a negative emotion. So anybody ever feel that way? Or am I the only person in the world that is terrified of public speaking? Tell me in the comments. Great words, those of you who send them over. So you think about some other thing. So angry, right? The red-faced angry person. Anxiety, if anyone's ever personally had an anxiety attack, or maybe you know someone who's had an anxiety attack, those are physical reactions that our mind creates automatically. And it's why lie detector tests work. Yes, people can train, right? People can train to beat a lie detector test, right? So that means we can train our mind to have different language and use different language. So just checking comments here, comments and questions here. All right, so no questions yet. Again, questions in the comment box anytime. I'll stop every once in a while and check those for you guys. So are any of you guys familiar with Dr. Daniel Amen? A big fan of him. He's a psychiatrist. He does a lot of really great work around this area. And he talks about ants. And I love this analogy because anytime we can get a picture or like a real thing, like something that's very clear and visual in our mind, it really helps us to remember and learn and apply new concepts. So think about ants. And just think about, just for a moment, just visualize a whole bunch of ants just like running all over your head, like all over your head, all over your body, just like gross, right? But just go with me here. Just little ants everywhere. So he uses ants as an acronym for automatic negative thoughts. So these ants are the automatic negative thoughts we all have going on naturally. Everybody has them. Totally normal. We've established that, right? What we need to do is learn how to take control and overcome these automatic negative thoughts. So our mind really loves visual images, and that's why I love this so much. So how do we control these ants? So we need to realize they're there, and we need to write them down. So instead of getting that thought in your head and then spiraling, women tend to spiralize, men tend to catastrophize. Sometimes it's different. But we tend to start going, well, what if? What if I get up in front of all those people and I can't talk? Like a thought I had earlier today, or yesterday especially, with this head cold was, am I going to be, like, what if I'm like this tomorrow? What if I cannot, like, I seriously sounded like this. It was bad. It's like, what if I have that? And I thought, okay, well, let's change that to what if, and then start freaking out. Like, I promised people I'd show up. What am I going to do? What if I can't? So start thinking about, well, what would I do if? What would you do? Because you can figure anything out. You have to believe in your ability to figure anything out with enough time and determination. So today I had problems with this live stream. I switched cameras that I'm using and I wanted to do it a little bit differently. And so this morning I sat down and I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. And I tested it and it worked. And then when I went to go live, it didn't work. I'm like, great. But I didn't quit. I didn't say, oh, canceled. I figured it out. You can figure it out too. So believe in your ability to figure anything out and start thinking, well, okay, fine. An ant in my head. I'm going to write it down. And what would I do if, okay, what would I do if I lost my job? What would I do? What would I do if, I don't know, tell me some of your what ifs in the comments that you struggle with from time to time. And we can kind of work through those. So I'll give you just a moment while I get a drink. So we're just scratching the surface here on the types of things that we're going to dig into and work on in my membership program throughout the upcoming months. We're going to have a very special live session on January 1st where we dig in and we work on our New Year's resolution action plans. And we're going to not just talk about how to create healthy dietary habits, but we're going to go beyond that into healthy life habits. And we're going to talk about how to make those habits that stick and grow on each other throughout the year. Instead of habits that we commit to at the beginning of the year. And I mean, I don't know how many years in a row that I made resolutions. You know, you start strong and you're doing so great and then life happens, right? And then it's like, and then you get off track. And then a lot of times you're making the same resolutions year after year after year. And until something happens and you have a wake-up call, right? And you really have to focus on them. So we are going to be going through and figuring out how to create these action plans, how to stick to our habits long term, and we are just going to be taking 2020 by storm. So I hope you'll click on the link in the description and join us on that journey. All right, we'll look at a couple things. All right, what if I cheat? Thanks, Jeremy. So what if I cheat? That's a great one. So you have this ant in your head and maybe you're on your way to a holiday dinner, or maybe someone just said something to you and your family and they're like, well, what if I cheat? What if I fail? What if I quit keto and never go back? And you just start thinking all these what if. All right, stop. What would I do if? Okay, what would I do if I cheat today? Then I'm going to start back right away, right? Maybe you make a plan. I'm going to do a 24-hour fast. If Jeremy gets home before we finish, I can have him pop in and talk about what he did this weekend when he was thinking, what if, about going to drill where I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in the military, you know that the food generally isn't healthy. Okay, so that can be a struggle for him going to guard and not knowing what's going to be in front of his face. And he messaged me last night and he said, oh man, everybody's ordering pizza and everything else. So I'll have him pop in and talk about that if he gets home before the end. What if I never get out of debt? Great one, Janelle. Well, what would you do if you never got out of debt? Like, what would you actually do? And just write that down. What if I maybe use that as a motivation to make those extra steps and get that extra education you need so that you can figure out how to get out of debt? Because the point is, you can figure anything out. Given enough time and the resources, you can figure anything out. So for today, I have given you some things to think about. We need to recognize these ants running around in our mind, right? So every time that you catch yourself thinking a negative thought, go, okay, wait, that's an ant. I'm thinking these what ifs. What do I do if? And it's just this process. The very first step is really that simple. It really is this simple. It's just catching them. You have to become aware, because up until this time, everything has been going on unawares, right? You know that you're being negative and you're frustrated, maybe with your life or the progress that you could be making, but you aren't. You feel those, but you haven't realized just how much these ants are really impacting your life, right? So the very first step is so simple and easy. It's just be aware of it and start to stop yourself, right? Start reprogramming it and saying, well, okay, I can figure that out. I can do it. And this is what I need to do in order to get rid of this, right? So I'm not saying don't worry, be happy. I'm saying confront your worries and change your internal language. And it's not easy. This is not easy. If it was easy, we wouldn't have this problem, right? Because maybe you've even heard this before, especially if you've read Dr. Ammon's books. He goes into some of these things. We're pre-programmed to focus on this negative, and it's not going to be easy. It's not just going to be better tomorrow. It's going to take you weeks and months and maybe even years to really master this and make it a habit. It's like anything else. I mean, did you learn to walk the day you were born? Did you learn to run or sprint? No, I mean, it takes time to build up new habits. And especially when we're talking about things, the longer you've been doing a habit and it's ingrained into your mind, it's harder to break because the brain resists change because it's comfortable. It's like, yeah, I know this. And so when you start to try to change your habits, it takes work. But it's possible. With knowledge and consistency, it's totally possible. And the cool thing is, the more consistent we get at it, the more often we're catching these things. We start to become confident. Oh, hey, I'm really good at catching all these ants. I got ant tramps all over my brain. Makes us feel competent. The confidence makes us feel competent. The competence builds our confidence further and helps us want to be more consistent. So it's like this loop, right? Brendon Burchard calls it the confident loop, and he might have got it from somewhere else. But there's a lot more than this very simple concept going on. I'm giving you very simple, easy strategies. So one easy and simple step, you're going to recognize that the ants exist. You're going to write them down if you possibly can. Otherwise, you're going to do the self-talk thing, right? Stop, that's an ant. I'm going to reformulate how we talk to ourselves. It's a powerful, powerful tool. So here is your last chance to ask questions. So comment below. Include your suggestions on next week's topic. I went through this pretty quick today. I do apologize for that. I have a hard stopping point because my baby sister is on her way here with my little nephews, and you all know how much I love my nephews. They are 10 and 6, and the older one has a peanut allergy, so he really loves to cook. He's really embraced cooking lately, so we talk a lot about cooking. And the youngest one wants to be 10. He wants to be as old as his brother. And here is Jeremy popping in. So I will finish up here and I'll let him maybe give you, since I got 30 minutes, maybe he'll sit down and give you a quick update on how his weekend went with his fasting. So you might be wondering, like, why the heck am I covering psychology as a health coach? Well, if we really want to get healthy in our body, it starts with our mind. Knowing what to do, it's only 20% of the battle. Implementing and taking action on our knowledge is the other 80%. So here's 3 more quick tips if you want to be challenged to take things just a little deeper. So number 1, exercise. Exercise is really good for your brain. And especially if you're struggling with focus during the day, exercise in the morning because that really primes your brain and you're just going to have a better day of focus and concentration than you would otherwise. And again, these are all things we're going to be going deeper into in the membership program. So make sure you click the link in the description and learn more about that. Ditch the sugar. If you're not on keto and you haven't ditched the sugar, sugar is really, really bad for the brain. It's just not good. Ditch the sugar and the artificial sweeteners and eat healthy fats. Low-fat diets are very bad for the brain. Keto diets is really, really good for the brain, and we're going to be unpacking that more and more in the membership program. So that is all I have for you today, but I'm going to let Jeremy take my chair and chit-chat a little bit about his weekend, and he's still in uniform, so he'll have to be politically correct, I guess. So here he is.
Oh, I'm all fuzzy.
It'll focus.
I gotta move the thing, so I'm taller than you. Drill is one of those times where I've really struggled with what I'm eating. And I always find a way to excuse myself, excuse my own behavior, and just kind of do whatever is easiest. So in the past, that's, Little Debbie's and Mountain Dews and, basically stuff I used to eat and drink when I was 15 and 16 years old. And a lot of that comes just because of the sheer amount of stress and sometimes just boredom that comes along with being in the Guard, especially as being a member of staff on the Guard. So this time I decided to fast over drill just to see if I could do it. We had a normal 2-day drill, and I was wanting to see if I could make it through it. This was actually way harder for me to do than fasting after Thanksgiving, which I did basically a week ago. The reason for that is we're going through this training process, and it's sitting in an office room and going over these plans and then developing our own plans and going back and forth on how we're going to do things. And it was PowerPoints and things like that. So kind of extremely boring, but also mentally taxing. And I really, really wanted to eat something. And then some other things happened that just made it even more kind of difficult. And that was, usually we don't stay super late, but we ended up staying until 11 o'clock at night. So at about 7:30, the guy in charge says, "Hey, we're going to take a break. We're going to everybody go get changed in their civilian clothes and get some food and come back." And we even had some beers and stuff brought in, and we'll continue. So I went and checked into a hotel and came back in my clothes, and everybody starts bringing in fried chicken and pizza and sweet onion chicken teriyaki sandwiches from Subway and just about anything else you can think of. And then they're drinking Busch Light and they're drinking all this other kind of stuff, which is fine. But it was, I'm just smelling all of it, just acutely, like smelling all of this food. And I texted Tara, I said, "Everybody's bringing all this stuff in." I said, "But I'm staying strong." I actually grabbed my pink Himalayan sea salt from the car and brought it in and was just putting some on my hand, and then I would lick it just to kind of get my mind off of the food. And then again, this morning at the hotel, I walked by and there's one of my favorite breakfast foods of all time, which is biscuits and gravy. And so they had that, and I just had to avoid it and just go out to the car. But one thing I really noticed last night is, everybody else it's 10:30 at night. We've been working like on these products forever, and everybody's just like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I can't think straight." And I'm realizing how clear my thoughts still were, even at 11 o'clock at night, having worked since 7 o'clock in the morning. Like, I'm not experiencing any mental fatigue at this point, and I'm like, man, fasting is really keeping me sharp for a long time throughout the day. And I was like, this is kind of really powerful for a drill weekend, because especially if you're planning military stuff, you don't want to be doing it in like what I would describe as like a fugue state, right? Like you don't even know what you're doing sometimes. So I completed it. I am probably at about 44 hours right now. I feel pretty good. I am going to eat. I don't need to go any longer than this. I just wanted to see if I could do it. So it was a real challenge, but I really noticed a lot of benefits. So I might do it some more. Did you want to sign off, Tara?
Do they have any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions in the chat?
I don't know. No bread and no soda. Yes. No soda and no bread. That's a great place to start.
So I had a question from 3-Card Monty. Is oatmeal okay on keto?
No, unfortunately.
It's a grain, right?
It's a grain.
And Craig Jennings asks, do keto and intermittent fasting help with overcoming drug addiction?
Ooh. From a doctor perspective, I don't think we can't prescribe or recommend, but I don't know. I would think that getting clarity of thought and control the act of controlling your diet, right, is like doing weightlifting for your mind. And whatever makes your mind stronger is going to help you control other parts of your life. So I think there's something there. Anything else?
No.
Hey. All right.
No questions? Here at the top. Any new ones? Scroll down.
I am drill weekends I just want to come home and just veg out, so I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, and your military buddy's apparently stopping by with my sister. My brother-in-law is also...
Oh, my military buddy. Yeah. Will. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.